All well. All right, so we're going to get started. If anybody needs a message, kind of throw something up, and then my people here, the more people online than we do in the classroom, you guys let me know if anybody's talking, okay? So we're going to talk about what is a blog, okay? Well, it's clear it's what is a blog, right? Plural, noun, updated website or web page. Typically one run by an individual or small group that is written in an informal conversational style, right? Past tense, participate. It's common sense, right? How do we express ourselves to the general public, right? And as we'll get into this a little bit more, one of the first things that people always tell me is what? What is the one thing that people say all the time? I don't know how to, I don't know what to, I don't know what to blog about, right? It's not even just what to do. What do I write about? So is that something that we'll address today? It's kind of surprising that they trip over it. And even myself, if you were to stop me in the hallway and say, what do I blog about? Like I have to stop to think about it. But there literally are hundreds, if not thousands of topics that you can blog about. And it's, it's not even a lot of times of original content. It's like, can I take a newspaper article and talk about it? Can I talk about an experience with a vendor and talk about it? Can I talk about an experience on my drive to work today and talk about it, right? Can I talk about a new construction that's going up and talk about it? Can I talk about a restaurant in a neighborhood that's going up and how it's going to affect it? Talk about it. Can I talk about a new park or a new development? All these things. And then there is top level, right? General stuff, boring stuff that we could talk about, right? But if you're more hyper local and you're more specific about what you're talking about and how it applies to the areas, like if you just talk about Northern Virginia, you're not really going to hold somebody's attention too much. But if you are specific about, okay, what happened with the widening of a Route 66 and how's that going to affect the neighborhoods from Falls Church all the way to the Ball Center, DC? Is that something, if you live in the area, that you might stop and read, right? Because that's a bigger conversation to a smaller general dynamic. So you have to think about your audience, right? Not just what interests you, but what's going to interest the masses and what's going to hold their attention. There's no difference to you talk to and how you talk to. The difference is how specific you make it to somebody. Does that make sense? All right. I don't have my pointer today because Donna's using it in the class upstairs. So let's go ahead. Next page. Blog types. So I call it a static blog post. So this is something that you might write once and not have to update often, right? Evergreen content, right? Financial, how to buy and sell a house. That doesn't really change too much. The life of an escrow, right? The life of a contract, what happens in a contract? How do I market a property? These are things that if you write once, there's not a whole lot of information you're changing to it. So it's a page that stays up there that doesn't get updated a whole lot. You might want to update it once a year just to kind of let Google know that you're changing it. But it's a static page, right? Then the general term to talk about is blog. Like we think of blog, and it's become transit across. Like we used to talk about a copier. We used to call it a Xerox machine, right? Andy knows what I'm talking about. He's older than me. He gets my point. But we would call it a Xerox, right? Because Xerox was the first company that really pushed copiers. We didn't call it a copier. I got to get a Xerox, right? Because that was the brand name to it. So blog has come very generic for almost the majority of the written word that's out there on websites, right? And now almost 70% of all websites that are out now are blog-related platforms like WordPress. So WordPress is the actual, so we've Playster. Playster is the brand name of the company that provides Keller Williams a website, okay? The platform that Playster built these templated websites on is what we call WordPress. WordPress is a blogging platform, right? That's how it started. Like if you guys saw the movie, what's the movie? The Julia Childs movie, Being Julia. Did you guys ever see that? Meeting Julia? It was a pretty cool concept. So 10, 15, 20 years ago now, this girl wanted to learn how to cook, right? They made a movie about it, but I'm just going to summarize it for you, okay? So in the book, she started doing all the recipes in the Julia Child cookbook. In that movie or in real life, she started blogging about her experiences of doing every one of these recipes, okay? So that was her blog. So you have these mom blogs, these hockey blogs. Facebook, to an extent, is blog content where people add stuff every day, the more longer. So to a degree, that's bloggish. So it's blogging, right? So there's all kinds of different platforms nowadays. So blog, even if there's a ton of other sources, do not plagiarize the info and state it in your own words. So let's pitch it back that if I read an article, right, maybe I pull something out of MVAR, right, about what's going on in the area, and I want to talk about it. Or heck, even if I read somebody else's blog post and I want to put my own opinion on it, okay, reference it, like just like my son's writing a paper in school and he's learning about source material and indexing and how to properly give credit. You have to do the same thing on blog, right? The last thing you want to do, and this happens all the time, is that let me go to this HOA website, right? Let me just copy this information about this HOA and we put it on my website. That's a no-no. That's plagiarism, right? And Google recognizes plagiarism. So in the long term, it could do yourself harm copy and pasting information, right? But if I go to that website and I write about that community, and basically I'm stating the same thing, but I'm writing it as my own, I'm giving myself and my website original content, even though I'm restating something else. And you can reference that content. You know, according to Cameron Chase HOA of 97 homes, I apologize for that. Right? Phones off. No, I've had to keep my phones on. We've been having issues with the internet, so I had to leave my phone on just to make sure I get another call. So recognize the people that you're talking about. So if I'm going to write about an article, and Andy, you wrote an article, okay, I would say basically article titled, you know, Why to Live Inside the Beltway by Andy Stevens. I found it important or moving because of boom, 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 boom. Click here to see Andy's original article. Yeah, include a link. If you're going to take somebody else's material, give them credit. You know, create a link back, because if somebody, that's what you're looking for in the back, right? So if you read something about me, okay, that, hey, Northern hockey is exploding. Dave Donaldson talks about minor league hockey in the Northern Virginia area. Learn here about why it's important and how it affects housing. Or you could take that article, which wasn't housing specific, turn it to your business, but give me credit for the original article and apply it to your source. No different than newspaper reporting this, but you've got to be upfront about where the information is coming from if it's not a complete and total original thought. Is that fair? Right? So think about that. The easiest thing is for us to just copy and paste, and I want this information. But you got to be careful about that. Mm-hmm. No, I would not. I would state an opinion, right? And then I would link to the blog. I wouldn't cut and paste my article on your page. I would write a 2 or 3 page or 2 or 3 paragraph, or maybe 1 paragraph, 2 or 3 sentences. Hey, I found this really interesting, this blog from Amal, okay, about the infrastructure, the new construction in the H Street corridor in DC. I found it interesting because of this. Click here to follow that blog. I probably wouldn't, at least not without your permission, post the entire article on my website. Okay? Blog repost. If you feel it's an article you like, feel free to blog a summary about it and give credit to the source. It's just what I talked about. You can't pass along something as yours if it's not. No. If I'm going to restate something, I don't need to get your permission to restate what you said, because I'm giving you credit, right? I'm telling them that the original source came from Amal. Here's her article. Now, if I was just going to blatantly take your article and restate it as my own, that's the difference, right? You got to be real careful about that. That plagiarism is a real thing, and Google will punish you for that. They will recognize those things. What should I blog about? Okay, I've given this list out a couple of times. I'll be more than happy to email you guys this slide deck when I'm done. But here's a list of 27 things. And if you actually Google, what do realtors blog about? Go ahead and write that down. What do realtors blog about? You will see an Inman News article. You'll see a KW News article. You'll see all kinds of different articles saying, what should I blog about? So let's take a look at this. The home buying process. Story about your neighborhood. New businesses. Your pet. Historic buildings and landmarks. Home maintenance. Right? Staging ideas, pet-friendly housing. Here's a perfect example. I heard somebody talking about this today in the office about investing in a condo building and not truly understanding the FHA requirement about investment standards, about balances, right? Because some of you may or may not know, not every property is eligible for FHA funding if the investment balance is out of whack. Well, to the general public, what does that mean? That's a blog post. Like, so the people that were just talking about this in the building, that would be something that they could turn around an article about, get some other resources, go to the HUD page, see if different buildings, so these buildings in Falls Church or Washington, D.C. are eligible, because how does that affect an investor? Because that balance is out of whack, then it may affect how I'm selling that property, especially if the majority of the properties that sell in that building are FHA funded. They could lose their FHA status. That's a blog post, because you're speaking from experience. You're giving an understanding of this is what happens and how does it affect you if you're an investor in this area, right? About closings, talk about a lender, about gardening, city council, right? Is there all kinds of city council information or HO meeting minutes that you could turn into a post, right? Especially if there's a farm or a geographic farm area that you specialize in. City council and HOA is a great resource for you guys to talk about traffic, because then people want to know what happened in the most recent city council meeting in Falls Church. Well, if you went to that meeting, you wouldn't have to necessarily reference anybody else because you were there and you took notes and you spoke to it, right? If you went to an HOA meeting and they were going to change, so my HOA, they were fighting the expansion of a road in Ashburn called Waxball Road. So there was a big push to not allow for expansion, and we actually got that push through. That's not going to happen, but it was something that the neighborhood was very focused and worried about, right? So information came out about that. I didn't write a blog post out of it, but I certainly could have and probably should have talked about that. Building trends, local art, right? Review websites and local real estate related topics, right? People are constantly going out. Here's a great example. Should I write a blog post about Zillow? I could. Is there value in talking about Zillow? Do I have an opinion about Zillow? Things that go wrong with Zillow regularly? The accuracy of Zillow. I'm not even just talking about Zestimates. I'm just talking about the data that comes out, right? So I told you guys that it really should be part of your consultation from a listing. You guys need to address the element in the room. You don't trust Zillow. So you could write a blog post about Zillow and how does it affect listings in the Northern Virginia area. They're delayed, they're not accurate, they're full of mistakes. The general public takes it as law that they're accurate. Let me list these things and tell you why they're not. Because of the connections, because of the agents that make mistakes, right? Right, it's still there. Yeah. That's right. Well, that's a bad thing, right? Because you can turn around and say, well, that's great, and unfortunately I told it, but let me turn you into something else. So that was actually, people do complain about latency of things coming down. I'm like, what are you complaining for? You just get more leads. But you need to have a conversation. So it should be part of your listening consultation, but it's certainly something like a blog about, right? The realistic expectations of what you read online, because everything we read online is true, correct? But to the general public, they believe Zillow. So you guys need to talk to that. I'm not saying you go out and bash them, but you need to shed some real light on it and talk to it about why there's value there. It gets great exposure, but what are the real issues with it? Well, we can joke. No, it's not liable if it's true. You just get whatever you say has got to be true. Like, it's one thing to have an opinion, but if you have an opinion, you got to be able, especially if you're going to say something negative about a person or a company or a business, you have to be able to base it on fact, right? So we know that there's latency. We know that not everything comes across the wrong way. We know that they look and pull things from the MRIS based off of boundaries versus our agents and advertised subdivisions. So you need to be able to talk to this. I can talk to those things, but if you're going to talk to those things, you got to do your research. So be careful what you talk about and make sure you know what you're talking about. Those are two different things, right? Don't leave here today and write an article on Zillow based on the information I just gave you. You got to be able to support that argument, right? So is there a lack of things to talk about? There's not. I know you're laughing, but if I asked you when you walked into this room, what are you going to blog about today? You'd be like, Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to blog about, right? It's funny, but here's a perfect way to go about it, okay? And this is, you have this list and you can print this off and put it on your desk, or the Inman News article of 100, they have like literally, Placer's got articles, 101 things to blog about. Inman News has 72 things to blog about. Just blogs, just research real estate blogs. Look at what other realtors are blogging about, right? So if I see a realtor in California blogging about something, can I take that same topic and blog about it here? Because then you're just taking the topic. The topic inspires you to talk about something in your neighborhood, right, in your farm, and you apply it to you. So you took the topic and inspired you to write about it and how it is here. Not taking any of their contact, not taking any of their data. I just said, oh, that's something I can talk about, and here's why it affects me here. And it may be the inverse, right? Their opinion or fact of whatever the article was about there may be different to what is going on here. So there's all kinds of things going on around you that should inspire you to talk about things, right? How about you playing at home? Everybody okay? Always like to make sure that they're not sleeping. What do I need to include in my blog, right? I'll constantly come back to this. Images, photos, and video. If you get too long-winded, people tune out. But if you balance the page with video or photographs, it captures their attention, not attendance. We're not in school. Their attention, right? So think about when you look at things, like how do we do? Characteristically now, we just want to see things in print, in picture. Infographics are becoming very, very popular, right? Because people can't even read long pages anymore. I'm working on some things for the Market Center that are more infographic, right, than they are pamphlet related. So think about what attracts you to a certain article and incorporate those videos. Remember, we talked about the website, and this is a bit piggyback off of that, and I gave you a list of stock-free photo pages to go to, right? Pexels was one, Getty Images, Shutterstock. Now, some of them charge you a one-time fee. Some of them are just flat-out free images, right? There's, again, a list of 50 different websites that you can go to where you can just start. So what I've started doing is just start downloading images to a library so that when I want to talk on a topic, I have a photo that I can just start applying to that. So I have those things that maybe it's a picture of a house, or maybe it's a picture of a garden or a pool or a bathroom or a kitchen or a stairwell or DC skyline or just architecture or freeways that I can apply to all kinds of different, right? Fireworks, 4th of July, spring break. What does that mean to the real estate business? And you have a picture of a water park. There's all kinds of things that you can go out there and grab. Start putting this, right? So you've got there's custom photos, right? So you guys all take pictures of houses, right? So you own the rights to that imagery. So talk to your photographer and say, hey, I'm going to need some 300 by 300 or 600 by 600 of these photographs so that I can put them on my website or use them in blog posts. And it's just sizing. So you can resize them and create this, but you own the rights to that, right? So what's important to that when I upload a photograph, and if I've named the photograph 123 Main Street Kitchen and I upload it, Google sees that. Or, maybe Revolution Real Estate Group listing 123 Main Street kitchen photo. That all goes, and I create a link back to maybe the actual listing. So if I put that photograph into a blog post and I hover over it, it gives me the little details. The details of whatever I named it. And then maybe I made that a live link behind the photo. If I click on it, because we all do that because we click on things all the time. We're click crazy, right? They call it clickbait, right? We've heard of that. So we click through, where's that going to send me? Well, maybe that sends me to a listing. Maybe that sends me to that community page, all embedded on my website. So think about all of these things and how you can layer them on your website, but also apply the same thoughts and metrics to a blog post. It works exactly the same way. Links to other things. So if I mention in a blog post a builder or a community or a school district, I could link to other pages on my website that maybe talks about new construction or gives a list of school districts in McLean. Layer it across. Now, when you build these pages on your website, you can always add back, right? So if I write the written word for a topic, then a week later I go back and I add photographs to it. And then a week later I start adding hyperlinks to it because I'm like, oh, well, hey, I can add this to it. Or I can update this post because I have new information. So I can keep doing that. stock, that's where we download stock images. That means, right, so certain things, if they're just 100% free, and like Pexels, P-E-X-E-L-S, it's a perfect example. Other people are using them, and you might come across those photos, and you may even see blog posts where you see the same image sometimes because they're stock photos. That's okay. How should you name them? Well, I just talked to you about that, right? So name the photograph when you download it to your computer and reference how you're going to use it in the article, right? What should they be about? They should be whatever the article's about, right? Whatever the blog post is about. If I'm going to blog about new construction in Falls Church, I'm not necessarily going to put a picture of NASCAR, right? But if I was being funny and I was talking about the rate of speed of traffic based on the new changes to the toll road charges, I put a picture of a stock car that might make sense, right? So you can have fun with it a little bit. And how large should they be? Well, you need to understand the platform that you're blogging on, right? And on this website. And as you add, and we'll log in at the end, we'll log into the website and I'll show you how to actually add a blog post to your website. That the pictures, they'll tell you what size the pictures should be. They're usually 300 by 300 or 600 by 600 square, right? If it's a banner picture, then it might be 1600 by 6. That's pixel size. So when you download a picture, right, from your photographer or somebody, you need to know, is it a high resolution photo? Because if it's a small photo, it might be 100 by 100, but I need to put it into a 300, 300 or 600, 600 slot, and I enlarge the photo, then it starts to pixel. That means where it gets blurry, right? If I have a high resolution photo and I downsize, then I'm not going to have any issue. But if I stretch the image, it gets blurry. So I have to be conscious to the size of the photograph that I have on my computer. Hold on. It depends on, so you need to know how you're placing them. So if I have and because it also comes to size and storage and download, right? If I have a high resolution, high definition photograph that's 1600 by 1600, I can use it just about anywhere, right? But if I have but then you have to size it down because some slots only allow for 300. So then I have to resize it because you'll see when you upload a photograph, sometimes it's just too big or you only see part of the image. It's because the image you have is too large for the space that you're putting it in. So you have to resize the image, and that's just a matter of using there's a resizeit.com, or even on your computer when you open it up in Art, it says there's a resize button, and when you resize it by pixels, not by size. Resize it by pixels because that's kind of the standard. Same question. Okay. SEO in your Playster website. Okay, so in your Playster website, there is some features that are built into it which will benefit you from a blogging standpoint or even just added pages. So you have the ability to add Google Analytics. That's you can use AdWords, but you also Google Analytics. So everyone who that has a Google account, write this down. You can create a Google Analytics account for free, and they'll give you an ID tracking code. Okay, the tracking code can be added to your website. I'll show you at the end where it can be added once you've created it. But again, that gives your website more credence, and then you can start looking at the numbers of people that are coming to your website, where they're coming from, how long they're staying on your website. Plus, Google likes that because that gives your website more authority when they actually use the word spiders and crawl your page for keywords, right, that people are looking for. So the analytics tracking component is something that's of value to you. Sorry, rephrase that for me. To your website, right? Right, you get a text that sounds all right. So that's somebody registering your website. But I'm talking if you actually want to get into the numbers of how many people, how many visitors about you don't get a notice unless somebody registers to your website. I'm talking about if people actually just go to my website, are reading articles and looking at listings. No, only people that text you are only people that register for information. That's different. Google Analytics tells me like, hey, Andy went to my website, he spent 10 minutes there reading my different articles. Oh, by the way, Andy's looking at my website out of Austin, Texas. So you can get that kind of information, right? So what happens if I have 4 or 5 people that are looking at my website from Waco, Texas? Is there a job relocation going on, right? There's things I need to know about. Right. Google Analytics. So yeah, Google, right, exactly, thank you. Yes, you will Google Analytics, and you can set up your own account. It's all part of your Google profile. Analytics, Analytics. But let's not get sidetracked by doing that right now, okay? Yeah. Okay, so in that 600 to 700 words, now I've heard as much as 1,000, but certainly nothing less than 500 words, because you have to give it content, right? What you're talking to. If I just do like a 4-sentence blurb, I'm not getting a whole lot out of that because there's not a lot of meat to it. And you really do have to be specific about, you know, as I'm working down the list, that on your web, you have the ability to add meta title, right? And a meta description. Every page you add on your website, that's you talking to. So remember in the website class when I talked about communities, or I show you and I say, look, if you do a Google search for any subject, right? Homes for sale in Falls Church, and I get my results page, right? What do I see? I see a list of results. Obviously, we know the ads are at the top or on the right, but right below that, I see the rest of the results, the organic stuff that kicks up, right? But the first thing you see is a clickable link, right? That's a link to a page on somebody's website somewhere. That's your meta title. You get to name the meta titles in your website. Okay, you can't name meta titles on websites you don't control, but you can name them on your own website. And then you get to add a meta description. So right below that meta title, you see a description. That is a description to the end user saying, if you click on this link, this is what you're going to find. And so when we do the long tail search, and in that search criteria will be in bold those keywords that I was looking for, right? And it says this is why this is relevant to your search because it talks specifically to these keywords. So if I'm writing a blog post, okay, on Falls Church, homes for sale, 800,000 to 900,000 investment properties or teardowns, whatever that look like. That's really long, right? So what does that mean? That means there's not a lot of traffic for that, which is fine. However, if I hit on a couple of those terms and you're looking for that, okay, Kayla, then you land on I have a lot less competition because I was so specific, and that if you trip upon my site based off of that information, the chance of you clicking through goes up so much more because I gave you exactly what you were looking for. If I just talk about homes for sale in Falls Church, am I going to get seen? It's too general, it's too broad. So that's why we talk about hyperlocal and long tail keywords. So if you start searching on Google, so you don't need AdWords, you do need analytics, but you don't need it for AdWords because there's a cost to that, right? You literally don't need anything more than Google itself. So if you have a topic that you think you want to write about, Google it, right? And you start typing. What does Google do when you start typing? It's trying to guess, right? You know why? Because it's saying, hey, other people have searched for this. Are you searching for it too? So it's telling you what words to use. So in your body copy, you can use those words or other words. It may even give you results that are flipping, where it flips the words around a little bit, because that's how people are actually searching. So if you take those words and embed those in your body, maybe use 2 or 3, and you restate what you're talking about 2 or 3 times throughout the paragraph, and write it the different ways that they suggested, then you're speaking to the masses in that very specific topic. Does that make sense? Can you? I can see you're visualizing it. You're like I do this search. What is all right? So Dave's telling me. So if I do this search, right? How does it come up? And you're right. You start typing. It starts to say, are you looking for this, this, and this? And the cool thing is, right below that. So maybe you're talking about something, but right below it, something else comes up that may lead you into another opportunity to blog on something else, right? To piggyback off of that, right? That's pretty cool stuff. And that's the free stuff that's out there. After that, then you can start worrying about AdWords and things like that and product placement. Yeah. But if you use the free tools, there's a lot there for you. If you're strategic about what you're doing. Let's just take something as simple as a listing. You know that one listing could be 4 different blog posts for you? How's that? Do tell. Coming soon. Active. Under contract. Sold. Right? One listing, 4 posts. And that's all relevant content, right? Because you guys don't have that sold data on your website because it all disappears from MRS. That doesn't become searchable. So if you post it on your website, you've got your sales history there. Okay, but I'm giving you a reference. But if I had a couple photographs and I had a blurb, but that at the end of the day, that one blog post became 4 different paragraphs that equated to 500 words. So it's 4 different updates to one blog post. I guess is how I meant to spin it, not necessarily 4 different blog posts. Right? Because you could easily get, coming soon, here's the property description, right? Active, went under contract in 2 days, had 27 offers, negotiated highest and best. Okay, went under contract, closed in 30 days, sold, right? 97% listing ratio, sold 100% listing ratio, outproduced the market, closed faster, sold for more than others like it in the area. Contact me today to ask me how. Right? There's 500 words there, right? Obviously, you're going to add a little bit more fluff to it, but I think you add 3 or 4 photographs, right? Plus, you're tracking your sales history now on your website. Click here for other properties like this, right? Right. Right. So you would take, so if you saw something on real, so you gotta be careful if it's something very specific in your name, but yes, you could, hey, based off this article on realtor.com seen here, here's how I feel about it or how it affects your neighborhood. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Or maybe that topic inspires you to create a topic that is completely new content to you. But yeah, so follow other blogs. See what realtor.com is blogging about. See what MVAR is blogging about. Right? Are there legal things that happen that affect your buyers or your sellers, right? On page, and starts with a key concept, your target audience or buyer persona. This is the market from whom you are writing your content. If you don't know who you're writing for or who you're trying to attract through your SEO keywords, your content will be aimless. Clearly define which persona type each page targets. So you have to keep in mind, who am I talking to? If I'm too broad and too general, it's not going to apply to anybody. So is this an investor? Is this for sellers? Is this for buyers? Is this for new? Is this for somebody that's seasoned, right? So think about your audience. All right, this talks a little bit more about long tail. Long tail keywords. 3, 4, and 5 word phrases which are very, very specific to what you're selling and where you are selling it. Whenever a customer uses a highly specific search phrase, they tend to be looking for exactly what they're actually going to buy. There's a significantly less daily search counts for these phrases. However, in almost every situation, such as extremely specific searches are far more likely to convert to a desired action, the lead generation, right, than generic searches. Generic searches tend to be more towards the type of research customers typically require to make a decision. Why is this important? Because your money is important. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. We have pay per click and the conversion rates on pay per click. Does anybody know what those are? You know what the conversion rate on a 1 to 3%? 3% is high. Okay, that's because the Zillows of the world, the Boomtowns of the world, the Tiger Leads of the world. Okay, conversion. These companies that are going to Google AdWords, all right, that are marketing on your behalf and making you pay $500 to $750 to $1,000 a month for ad placement, okay, are going to send you leads. They're going to send you 25, 50, 100, 150 leads a month. Your conversion rate is 1%. You know why? Because they don't focus on the long term. They focus on the high level. Those people that are registering for those leads are registering on 15 other websites. They don't know what they're looking for yet. They're not specific enough. They're not detailed enough. They're too high level or they're too early on in the process. A lead registered through that process is closer to a year than it is closer to 6 months. So that's why I always tell everybody, be very careful about spending money because there's no magic bullet in real estate, right? So these leads get very, very expensive and the turnaround is very, very low. So you gotta be careful. But if you are specific and you write to that audience that is not on the high level, but that's down here, that they know they're moving to Northern Virginia, and they know that they want to be in Loudoun County, and they know that they want to be in Ashburn, and they know that they want to be in Ashburn Village, that's the audience that you want. You don't want the audience that's looking for Loudoun County. It's too broad. right? You don't want the audience that doesn't know if they want a condo, townhouse, single family, what price point. If you say, hey, I want single family, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, 2-car garage, $700,000 to $725,000 in Loudoun County. Okay, that's my audience. Versus show me everything between 500 and 750 in Loudoun County, Fairfax County. I don't know. It's too much. It's too much to get through. Long tail. Be specific of who your audience is. This is really, really cool. Sorry. Think of your target keyword as the desired topic for a particular page. Define only one topic to a page. Don't lose the audience with too much information, right? Pick your topic, and that's what you're talking to, right? Don't talk about living in Pymmet Hills, investing in Pymmet Hills, schools in Pymmet Hills, traffic in Pymmet. You're giving too much information, right? Talk to one specific topic in a post. This allows you to go in more depth and provide more detailed information. It also means that you're optimizing one keyword search per page. Okay? Because if you start giving them what they talked about, then you're going to lose them, right? Links and content credit. We touched on this earlier, but this is so I'm kind of literally taking like some legal jargon and kind of saying this is what they're telling you here. Okay. Anytime you include references to other sources in your pages, you need to provide the link to the referring source. When you link to outside sources, you have the option of passing SEO credit or not. If you decide not to pass credit, the link becomes a no-follow link, which means search engine crawler will not follow that link. However, as long as the site is reputable, best practice is to provide SEO credit. So basically, that's means give credit, allow them to recognize the other site, that where it came from. Maybe it's from Realtor.com or NAR or another blogger's platform, right? Let Google give them credit for where that original source came from. That's everybody playing nice together. If you have an overview page where the goal is just to briefly touch on a subject, then have a deeper internal page that goes into more detail. Makes sense to link that internal page from your overview. So if I have a community page, okay, that's Loudoun County, and underneath it I have Ashburn, Hamilton, Belmont, I could have links going to different pages talking about that, or blog posts talking specifically to it from an overview page. Links to my own website from inside itself, right? That's how you get people to bounce around versus bouncing and leaving, right? Because bounce rate is bad, right? Do you guys ever heard of the term bounce rate? Bounce rate means when somebody clicks through to something and they get there, go, and it's not what I want. I'm gone, right? That's called bounce rate. Or if they land on your page, say, hey, I baited them with an ad about a new hot listing in Falls Church. But when I got to the ad, you wanted my contact information. Bounce, right? So how does your site react when people show up to it? Keep yourself in frame of mind, right? We do the same thing when we answer phone calls, right? If I get a solicitation call, I get an 800 call, my frame of mind changes, right? And that's why we're all scared to death to pick up and make phone calls. Because there's a difference between cold calling and calling somebody you know. Same frame of mind with that bounce rate. You're trying to get something, you want to do some research, but if they want something from me that I'm not ready to give them yet, I'm going to go somewhere else. They're going to charge me for this, or they want what do they want? You may not be charging a fee, but you're charging a price of admission based off the contact, right? So that's where you get Mickey Mouse registered on your website. So think about those things. How does your website perform for the people that are coming to see it? Okay. That's the last slide on that. I'm going to jump in and show you the actual website itself, but any questions on the information that I gave you guys? Well, you have a blog through Blazter. The website has blogging capability already built into it, so you just have to start blogging. Yes. What would that look like? So right now, my web address that you help me link to my /blog, or whatever that blog page is named on your website. But saying, because what I want to blog about is not you sure could. I'm going to show you a blog on my website. It has nothing to do with real estate right now. But you can blog, you can talk about whatever you want, right? And there are realtors that blog about restaurants and movie theaters, because it's all relative to lifestyle living, right? New daycare centers that are opening up, pools in the summertime, parks, camps, and recs. I would challenge you and say, why? Why? Because size matters, right? So there's no reason for you to not blog on this platform. Now, if it's completely, all right, I just like say I'm building another company or I'm doing something completely different, and they can just go get a new. But moving content from one to another, you could certainly do that, but then you'd have to really kind of take down the original source. Because you can't, and it sounds funny, like we talked about plagiarism. You can also plagiarize from yourself and do yourself harm. So you don't take, so if I have, so it's one thing to share the link of my blog, right, on multiple platforms. But if I literally cut and paste the written word on this website and put it on 3 different other websites, word for word, you're doing yourself harm. So only have one original hosted source, but you could share that source over and over and over again. I'm going to open up online. Anybody online have any questions? I just opened up the mics real quick. If anybody wants to ask a question. No, you guys all good? I'm going to leave it open for a second while I take this down. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. Where the blog post is. So inside your place to it's already predetermined how to lay out a blog post. So if I come to my actual website, okay, this is my website, and you see on my homepage of my website, this blog post populate, right? And you'll see here I have a blog post that has nothing to do with real estate. Northern Virginia, Metro Washington, D.C. hockey rinks and clubs, right? Because it's something I passionate about, something I talk about. So I did a little post on all the local D.C. hockey rinks, and I actually built a map of all those. I actually built this map. It's wrapped on me, so I got to go look at this. But if I click on any of these, it gives me contact information that links out to those external resources. So this was not a 500-page blog, so I should go back here and lengthen this out a little bit. But it was something I was more worried about. This came from trying to play around with Google Maps a little bit, so that I was working on. But I want to go back to that because I want to be found for people that are interested in hockey in the Northern Virginia area, right? So they may be relocating for somewhere else, right? So I want this blog post to be found out talking about hockey, and then at the same time, it pushes them to look at real estate in the area. So that's why I was saying that the topic doesn't necessarily have to be real estate themed, but the end result is if I am talking about something specific, then maybe they start looking in real estate, right? That's correct. So every one of you has 4 blog posts on your website. That's right. So when they launch the websites for all of you, you have these here, dealing with financing, preparing to sell. What you really want to do is you want to start deleting those once you start adding your own content. No, and that's the whole point. So while yes, that falls into that everybody has it mentality that you don't want to have, right? But you want to start replacing. Like I wrote this article 2 years ago now about shows you how often I blog, right? Ashburn Village, right? So that's a great topic to write about. Best places in DC or your area to where there's to watch the 4th of July fireworks. Right? Those types of things come up, right? So let's go into the website itself. And if I click on blog post, you know, the nice thing about Playster is everything functions the same way, right? If you learn how to add a community page or an area page, Andy's going to say, well, how did I get here? So if I go back to my page, my landing page, right? So this is my interior page. Well, did you click in, you know, you're on the home page, right? Well, you got to log in, right? So you're here. First, you got to log into your KW page. Then you have to go to your website page, which will bring you here. And then you click Edit Website. Right, go to my website. You right there, Mr. Stevens? You logged into KW? I don't enter that way. Yeah, go into my KW. Are you going in through Chrome? Don't use Safari, use Chrome. For those users, don't use Safari, use Chrome. That should work for you. Okay, so once you get on your website, yeah, mykw.kw.com. Kayla doesn't want to leave, but she has to. I know. I'm recording this. Okay, so it'll be on the website by tomorrow. Promise? All right, because the analytics that will tell me if you watched it or not. Well, all right, so let me pause for 1 second, okay? That's a great point. You have 10 ideas for blog posts, and this is what I will tell each and every one of you and everybody that's listening at home. If you build the blog post first, so if you build 10, then you've got yourself a library of blog posts that you can set out one a week. Then you're not under the pressure of, I got to create a blog from scratch. Yeah. So then once you kind of get that library of blog posts, right, unless it's a time-sensitive piece, right, that every time I post one, then I just have to write one to replace it. So then I can have like a mindset that I'm going to do this, and this in this order. And maybe if I wrote, maybe there was one topic that I was really passionate about and ended up being really long, I could break that into 2 or 3 blog posts, right? So think about that. Don't do an entire brain dump and have like a 3,000 word blog post. I could turn that into 3, like part 1, part 2, part 3. And did you get in? Let me make sure you're. Do you not know what your password? Yes. Safari as far as platforms go. Not my personal opinion on Safari or Apple. It's just it doesn't give us everything that we're looking to all the time. But you can follow along on the screen and always come back to it. All right, so once you get on the page, we're going to go ahead and edit the site. Let me ask you guys a quick question. Are you on the training room website or are you still on the main building website? If you're on KW Access, you're too far away. Right, you need to switch to KW Training. Yeah, choose the training because you're too far away and it's just not reading it well enough. Well, then I'm just a liar. All right, so let's get moving along here. So you're in, you click Edit Website, and then you come to Blog Post. At the top of the page, Edit Site. Okay. From Edit Site, you see the site settings. This is kind of like your setup page. Right next to you see Pages, Blog Posts, Testimonials, Agents, and Areas. We're going to do Blog Post. Right, but from when you first get here, there's an edit. There's your like an overview, and you click Edit Site, and then it comes to Site Settings. So Edit Site is before you landed on this page. Then you'll land on this page, and then you go to Blog Post. Okay, you'll see these default blog posts that'll be there that you can remove from your website. Right. Then you can click Add a Post. That's this plus button right here. Okay. So you click the plus button. Now I'm going to open up one that I already have in here, just so I have some content. You'll add the name of the title. So the title of the post, right? You want to write that down. So whatever I'm talking about, living in investment properties in Pimmitt Hills, it might be a topic. Okay. So that would be your topic. And then you would just put in your context here, your written word. Now you might want to write the word, write the post out first. Maybe write it in Word or, in a format, edit it, format it, check your spelling, check your paragraph settings. You can write it in something else and just cut and paste it into here as opposed to actually writing it in here, right? Then you see right here, you got a little bit of an editor here. You can bold, italicize, underline, bullet, number, right? Indent, hyperlink. Like you see, I have a bunch of hyperlinks in here. You guys all know what hyperlinks are, right? Hyperlinks are when I highlight something and I link it to something else. So if I want to bounce it to another page of my website or an external source, I click the word, highlight it, click hyperlink, and then I put in the web address. The text is what the actual written word is. And if I put a tooltip, I could actually, if I hovered on it, that would give me another word on top of it. I can add photographs, right? We talked about saving photographs and loading them right, so I can embed them right here in the video. Right. This is actually a Google map, so I actually embedded this with HTML code. That's a little bit more advanced, okay? Or I can embed video. So if I had something on a YouTube shade, so maybe if I was talking about my listing, I can embed my YouTube video of the listing that I took. Or if I was talking about a listing in an area and I did a drive around of the neighborhood or I did a walkthrough of the local park, I could post the video of the park right embedded into the copy itself. And it's literally just drag and drop. You can drag photos right from your desktop. You can drag videos right from YouTube and bury them right into the paragraph. Then I get down here and I get this excerpt. The excerpt is a little added feature for your website itself. So the excerpt is a summary of what did I blog about. So it's a short version of the blog, right? And then I added a featured image. So if you remember on my actual website, this is the excerpt. It's the photograph and the summary of what the blog is actually about, right? So it's a thumbnail copy on the website itself. Right down below it is our friends, the meta title and meta description that we talked about, right? So my meta title here should match this here. So the slug and the content title, okay, should be exactly the same. So the Northern Virginia, so the title of the blog post, okay, and the meta title of the blog post are exactly the same. Yeah, you can copy and paste it in there, right? And then the description, okay, again, is just a summary of what the blog post is. Now, the meta title and the meta description, so it even says it right here on the right-hand side. Meta title, that doesn't say, but that should actually be no 56 characters. Otherwise, it drops off on Google, okay? The meta description should be anywhere between, should be less than 155 characters. Otherwise, you'll see ... more in your Google description. Yeah. The characters is less than 55. The meta description is 155. Now, that's what they say here. I've seen it anywhere as high as 160, but it's we're kind of ballparking it there. You can save your draft if you're not done with it, okay? Or I can publish the post. Okay? Mm-hmm. That we would do a hyperlink. So I would say this, the summary of this article, or I was inspired by this article from the article written by our host on Realtor.com, and actually take the link and say you can see the original article here and highlight original article here and embed the link of where that original source was. That's using a hyperlink. So if you highlight a word, just say, type the word click here. In the body copy, type click here. Uh-huh. Click here to see original article, but highlight the words click here. Okay? Highlight it. So highlight, click here, okay? And then see the little chain link? Click on that. And then where this says web address, I would paste the link to the article. Yep, it has to be the whole link. Okay, and then paste it in that web address section. right here. Yep. You can just delete the HTTP and click copy paste or Control V, and then click Insert, and then you'll see that highlighted and underlined in blue. Right? Well, it won't. Right, it won't work here. But if you click Publish, okay. Well, I mean, but if you just want to see what it looks like, but obviously you can go back and fix it up. But if you wanted to see it, you could click Publish. Okay. And then on your website itself, if you scroll down to the blog post, it'll be right there. Did you save? Scroll down. Scroll over down. Great. Click Publish. Okay. Now.
Not from here.
Well, you can go to your website. There you go. Hit refresh. Show me.
Just a second. It was okay.
Might be internet.
Okay.
That's a great looking
I
banner
know,
you got
I
there.
know.
Doesn't she have a great looking banner there?
Look, he did it for me. Very nice. Not this.
Look at that banner.
Yeah. Now it's every time when I text somebody with my website, this one come.
Okay, so right there, see, there's the blog post you wrote.
But it's not. Oh no.
Well, because you didn't put a photograph in there, that's why. But
The page not coming.
I think we're having internet issues in here. But it's that quick.
Maybe I didn't paste all everything.
It's possible. All right, I'm going to go back to those online. But I just want you to see how easy that is.
How can I make everything highlight?
Hold on one second. Hey, guys online, anybody have any questions? We're going to wrap up here in a couple of minutes. I just want to make sure you guys got everything you were looking for. The session was recorded. I want to make sure everybody's open. If you want to talk, you can turn your mics on. If not, we're going to go ahead and drop. All right, everybody, have a great day. If you need anything, shoot me an email, call me, schedule a one-on-one if anything that I covered today was a little bit too much for you. But I just want to see how straightforward and pretty simple all it is. And if you want a copy of the presentation that I did, I can send that to you as well. Just shoot me an email. Have a great day, everybody.